Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're not just looking at rusty corridors. We're digging deep, really deep, into like 2 centuries of planned psychological torture.
Yeah, systematic stuff. We're talking about the vaults in Fallout 3, Votek's little nightmares under the Capital Wasteland.
Exactly. And the key thing to get right away,
Okay.
for you listening, is that these places, they were never shelters.
No way. Honestly, the folks struggling topside with the rad scorpions, they kind of got lucky compared to the people Vault-Tec locked away. Those guys were basically lab rats in these awful, lifelong experiments.
It's true, the surface is rough, no doubt.
Yeah.
But finding an intact vault, there's a special kind of like pristine evil preserved down there. It hits different than the everyday wasteland horror.
It's harder, maybe.
Yeah. So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to rank the Capital Wasteland vaults we can actually get into in Fallout 3, rank them by how messed up they are, explore the specific nightmares inside, and then we do a deep dive, like a sociological autopsy, on Vault 101, the Lone Wanderer's home, the place that kicked off their whole story.
Right, the Crucible. And we've got the whole spectrum, haven't we? Cloning labs, FEV vats.
Virtual reality torture.
Don't forget that one. Yeah, it's dense lore. We've looked at the community takes, the critiques, we're connecting the dots on Vault-Tec's big bureaucratic evil plan.
Speaking of dense, I kind of went down a rabbit hole this week, chasing down terminal entries about the pre-war security stuff. And honestly, the amount of just calculated malice, it's kind of breathtaking.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, every breakdown, every like mental collapse, it was planned, budgeted for.
Yeah.
I am deep back in the lore now. Obsessed, maybe.
Ah, that's nice. I ironically have been playing Fallout 4 this week.
Oh, really? Cleansing the palate.
Totally. We've picked apart Fallout 3 so much.
No.
Gotta say, the management styles in the Commonwealth. It's
Yeah.
a whole different flavor of crazy. Kind of manic. Can't wait till we get to those vaults.
One apocalypse at a time. But okay, before we crack open these vault doors, we actually got a few quick questions from listeners. Let's hit these real fast.
Okay, shoot. Lay 'em on me.
All right, first one, some data gen. Quick fire. Most powerful drug in the wasteland. Not the most common, the most powerful.
Psycho. Gotta be Psycho, hands down.
Yeah. Why Psycho over, say, Jet?
Look, Jet's good, Buffett's solid for stats, right?
Hmm.
Strength, endurance. But Psycho, that's pure combat juice. It like numbs pain, jacks up your damage resistance, makes you hit way harder. It turns you into a frickin' berserker chemically.
Right.
That's why the nastiest groups, raiders and stuff, they're always popping Psycho. It's for, sheer survival in a fight, not just cruising.
Yeah, I gotta agree. It's the one that really flips the script in a bad situation.
Okay, next one. From Witty Emu. Why is the hunting rifle so iconic?
Ah, the hunting rifle. It's the wasteland workhorse, isn't it?
It's genius is how practical it is. You get it early, and it sticks with you, like, way into the mid-game. It's everywhere, ammo's common, and crucially, it gives you that range and accuracy you desperately need right out of the vault.
Especially against super mutants early on.
Exactly, gotta keep your distance. It just feels like Fallout 3, That gritty, making-do survival thing.
Solid take. It's reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Rarest thing out there. Okay, last one. This username. Amata the Jerk.
Oh boy. I think we know where they stand.
Right. They ask, what are you guys' favorite quest?
Thanks for all the content. We're making it out of Tranquility Lane with this one.
Huh. Well, since they brought up Tranquility Lane, I mean, I gotta say that one
Yeah.
to get into it, but
Yeah.
it's just this masterclass in psychological horror,
Yes.
wrapped up in that creepy 1950s thing.
Yep.
It's disturbing, you don't forget it, and it makes you do horrible things, like the dog,
Got the dog.
just to get out. It's the game making you really uncomfortable. Brilliant, but uncomfortable.
For me, it's got to be going back to Vault 101. Trouble on the home front. Oof, that one's rough.
It's not fun, no way, but it's just profoundly impactful. Seeing the mess you left behind, or that James left behind, really, and realizing that place you thought was safe. It's just as toxic and judgmental, maybe more so than the wasteland.
That's a heavy lesson.
Yeah, safety's fake.
Yeah.
And you're always going to be the outsider now. That hits hard.
Man, that's a perfect kind of painful transition, though, because that isolation, that toxicity,
That's the core idea, right? Vault-Tec didn't promise safety. They delivered these tailored psychological hellholes.
And they reinforced it. Those fake radio broadcasts James mentioned, the ones telling Vault dwellers the outside was even worse than it really was. All pre-recorded, pre-war lies.
Just to keep the door shut, keep the experiments pure, absolutely chilling.
It's so cruel. These weren't bunkers, they were data farms with beds.
Okay, let's start digging into some of the specific failures. Starting with one you don't even visit in-game.
Right. When you're out there in the Capital Wasteland and you find a vault entrance, sure, you might get a bobblehead, maybe a skill book. Cool.
Yeah, loot's always good.
But the real find, it's the story. It's the sheer human misery documented on those terminals, the failure written in digital blood.
Yeah, it's like archaeological suffering, just laid out.
Mhm.
And Vault 77, man, it nails that idea, even though, like you said, we can't walk in it in Fallout 3. It just lives in the lore, in the Wasteland's memory.
Exactly. Vault 77, the Puppet Man's origin story. The experiment was just pure psychological cruelty, simple but awful. Lock one person inside, totally alone.
Nothing but.
A crate of puppets. Like 50 puppets. That's your company for God knows how long. They just wanted to study extreme isolation, sensory deprivation, social deprivation, the works.
And the result, from the Penny Arcade comic lore that fleshed it out, was, well, textbook insanity.
Pretty much. The Dweller just snaps, the puppets become his only friends, then his enemies. He destroys them, gets out somehow, and becomes this legend, the terrifying Puppet Man.
What makes it hit home in Fallout 3, though, is that it's not ancient history. He didn't stay locked up 200 years. He got out, like a year and a half after the bombs.
Yeah, relatively early. But the story of him, this lone madman with puppets, it's stuck around. You find that Vault 77 jumpsuit in Paradise Falls, in the slaver barracks.
And that holotape, that's the kicker. A slaver freaking out, wanting to ditch the jumpsuit, because just talking about the Puppet Man scares these hardened slavers, these guys who deal in cruelty for a living.
Right. That's the ripple effect of Vault Tech's little experiment. It created something so creepy, so wrong, that it still terrifies the Wasteland's worst monsters almost 200 years later.
Isolation breeds madness. Madness breeds terror. Wow. Okay, so from total isolation, let's go to Vault 92, forced collaboration, but with a deadly twist, northwest of Olney.
Happy. Vault 92. This one's insidious because it targeted talent.
Musical talent specifically.
Right. They picked the best musicians, singers, composers, players. The cover story was probably, preserve culture. But the real goal, mind control. Implanting combat commands using white noise, like sub-audible stuff mixed into the environment. The idea was to turn these artists into programmable soldiers without them even knowing it. Pavlovian conditioning, basically, but for killing.
Jeez. And the Overseer, were they in on it, you think? Or just following Vault Tech orders?
The terminals kind of suggest the Overseer knew, maybe got too hands-on, tried to tweak the suggestions. But the sources say it spun out of control, the white noise programming got scrambled, or maybe too effective. And then the Overseer's failsafe, the command phrase to stop it, it just stopped working.
What happened?
The residents, their minds totally messed up by this constant sonic manipulation, just turned on each other violently.
Total massacre.
Jesus.
The whole place is a tomb filled with musical instruments.
Yeah. And the irony, right, it was meant to preserve culture, but Vault Tech just weaponized it and destroyed them, stripped their humanity with sound.
But there's that one detail you can salvage.
The soil Stradivarius
Yeah.
belonged to a violinist named Hilda Egelbrecht. You find this beautiful pre-war violin in the recording studio, just sitting there amidst all the evidence of slaughter.
And you can take it to Agatha for her radio station.
Exactly, bringing that music, that tiny bit of pre-war beauty back to the wasteland, feels like a small screw you to Vault Tech's whole plan for the place.
A small win. Okay, next up, Vault 106, southeast of Erifu, in a cave. This one always felt quieter, sadder. But the visuals are messed up. Rust, blood, those weird hallucinations.
Yeah, 106 is the psychoactive gas chamber. Simple, nasty concept. Release a gas called control into the air vents. Supposed to make people euphoric, suggestible.
But only for a short time, right? The
Yeah.
logs say it was just a 30-minute test.
Supposed to be, yeah. Just study the short-term reaction. But Vault Tech being Vault Tech, incompetence or malice, who knows? They screwed up the system.
So when the Lone Wanderer gets there 200 years later?
The gas is still pumping, continuously. That's why you start seeing things. Those weird blue hallucinations of people from Vault 101, your dad, Amada, Butch. It messes with your head, blends your past with this Vault's nightmare.
It's like airborne mental conditioning, but stuck on repeat forever.
Exactly. Now here's where it gets weird, like lore-wise. There are survivors, right? Those hostile, insane survivors. And that one passive guy in a lab coat, still alive after 200 years.
But the experiment started just 10 days after the vault sealed. How does that work?
It doesn't really. It's a contradiction. So the theories floating around are either A, Vault Tech engineered the gas to also, like slow aging, keep the lab rats fresh, or B, Maybe the overseer or that lab coat guy was tasked with continuously dosing the dwindling population for decades until they finally succumb themselves.
So lone survivor might be the last experimenter caught in his own trap.
Could be. Either way, it emphasizes the sheer, unending awfulness of their existence down there, even if the timeline's wonky. And those terminals trying to soothe you? Relax and stay. Creepy as hell.
God, yeah. So 77, 92, 106. These are basically failed experiments, right? Horrifying data points. But the next set, these vaults actually changed the Capital Wasteland. These were Vault-Tech's twisted successes.
Yeah, if the first batch was about messing with minds, this next group, this is Vault-Tech playing God. Genetic engineering, societal manipulation, total contempt for human life. Let's start with the infamous one, Vault 108. Gary. The cloning vault, south of Canterbury Commons, definitely the weirdest, often played for laughs, you know. But the setup, it's deeply screwed up.
And it wasn't just cloning, right? That's key.
Exactly. People forget that. There were 2 experiments running side by side, designed to clash, probably. You had the cloning lab, sure, but you also had Vault-Tech deliberately trying to max out everyone's stress levels.
Oh, they do that.
Stacked the deck, gave him a terminally ill overseer, for starters, then way too many weapons, like military-grade stuff. Absolutely zero entertainment, nothing. And the kicker, a power supply designed to fail, constantly.
So they were trying to engineer a pressure cooker. See how fast a stressed, armed board population would just implode, even without the clones.
Pretty much. Testing societal breakdown points. But the cloning thing just took over. The lab worked too well. And the sources say the Gary clones got more violent with each generation. Eventually, they just overwhelmed everyone else. Exponential Gary growth.
Until you arrive 200 years later, and
Yeah.
it's just Garys. Dozens of them. Identical, angry dudes shouting their own name.
Barry, Gary.
Trying to navigate that place is a nightmare. You can't tell who's who.
Okay.
But it works, comedically, because the idea is so absurd, like runaway reproduction leading to self-destruction. Peak Vault-Tech logic.
Chaos theory meets Xerox machine. And yet, amid all that, the charisma bobblehead.
Right, the Vault designed to create violent, identical drones holds the key to personality and influence. The irony is just chef's kiss.
Delicious. Okay, from absurd to just sheer world-altering horror, Vault 87.
The birthplace of the Capital Wasteland super mutants. No question one of the most evil things Vault-Tech ever did.
Unequivocally, it's fallout, no pun intended, wasn't contained. It affects everyone on the surface for 200 years. Super mutants patrol DC because of Vault 87, period.
And the experiment itself was brutally simple. They took the forced evolutionary virus, FEV.
A pre-war bioweapon, basically.
Right, and they just used it on everyone. The entire population turned into mutants on the overseer's orders.
The mutation worked, in a way, made them big, strong, but also hyper-aggressive and, importantly, less intelligent than the West Coast super mutants from earlier games. These guys are mostly brutes, obsessed with grabbing more human smooth skins to dip in the FEV vats.
Creating more super mutants. A self-perpetuating cycle of terror for the whole wasteland.
For 200 years, yeah, just kidnapping and converting. But there's that one exception, that one spark. Fox, your potential companion. A super mutant, yes, but he kept his mind, his intelligence, his, moral compass. He was one of the original residents subjected to FEV.
But you find him locked up, separated from the others who became monsters.
Yeah. He's this reminder of the people they used to be, the humanity that was lost in those vats. Such a tragic, poignant character. He shows you what Vault-Tech destroyed.
Okay, so we've had madness, mind control, cloning, mutation. But we have to talk about the absolute pinnacle of Vault-Tech's depravity. The undisputed champion.
Vault 112, Tranquility Lane.
Easily the worst. Calling it an experiment feels wrong. It was an immortal torture chamber. And the guy behind it, he's basically the big bad of the whole Vault program. Dr. Stanislaus Braun.
This guy, yeah, he wasn't just some scientist. He was high up in Vault-Tech. The sources suggest he designed or approved all these other horrible experiments we've discussed. He's the architect of this whole sick system.
And his personal project. Vault 112, stasis pods, keeping people alive indefinitely.
While their minds are plugged into a simulation he controls. Tranquility Lane. This perfect-looking 1950s suburban nightmare.
And he didn't use it for research, did he?
No way. The logs, the experience, it's clear he used it to torture the residents. Endlessly. For 200 years. Just pure sadism. Confirming his utter contempt for humanity. He could reset things, change the rules, make them relive horrors. All for his own amusement?
You experience it directly. He makes you do awful things. Kill people in the simulation. Turn that little girl's dog into a monster. Make the guy cry forever. Or the worst, the kill everyone sequence is Betty.
Yeah, becoming the little girl's psycho killer. He traps you, the player, in his sick games.
And that choice,
Yeah.
how far do you go to escape? His brilliant game design forcing that moral
And
compromise.
the fact he was stuck, too, in a way. Trapped in his own loop of cruelty, refusing to leave even when you offer him a way out. He just couldn't give up control.
And we know he was like this before the simulation, right? It wasn't isolation driving him mad.
Absolutely. His fingerprints are all over the other Vulse 87's, FEV, 92's mind control, 108's cloning. He saw people as disposable resources. Plus, you hear about him in Fallout 4. Overseer Barstow in Vault 88. She confirms Braun was notorious within Vault-Tec for his messed up ideas. Other overseers thought he was nuts, but he had the clout.
So Vault 112 wasn't an experiment gone wrong. It was his perfect, eternal playground.
Yeah, no worse fate imaginable. Conscious psychological torture forever by the guy who designed it all.
Okay, that's the peak of Vault-Tec's evil. But now let's pivot. Let's talk about the vault that started it all for the player, the place you called home, Vault 101.
Right, Vault 101, it's different. Not obviously about like genetic horror or gas chambers. Its experiment was sociological, all about control, ideology, and just absolute unending isolation.
The core idea was simple, but kind of brutal in practice. Study a population that was never supposed to leave, ever, and focus on the overseer's role in keeping that isolation sealed tight, even when people got curious or started questioning things.
Vault-Tec wanted to see if a closed system and ideology could just sustain itself forever. No one ever enters, no one ever leaves. That wasn't just a rule, it was their whole reality. The overseer's job was to basically run a cult of isolation.
Keep telling everyone the outside world was unsurvivable death. Using those fake pre-war radio messages describing horrors worse than reality to scare everyone into staying put.
And the vault was set up for it. Built in the 2060s, designed to be sealed permanently. Endless supplies, spare parts, but pointedly, no GECK.
Right. The Garden of Eden creation kit. Because why would they need one? GECKs are for rebuilding the surface. They were never meant to see the surface.
But the thing about 101, its history is all about breaking the rules. The isolation was never truly perfect. The original Vault-Tec overseer died off, groomed a successor.
But then, before Almodovar, the overseer we meet, there was that other guy, right? The one who actually opened the vault.
Yeah, huge deviation. Sometime before 2241, this unnamed overseer, who apparently wanted contact, sent out survey teams. Ann Palmer went to Springvale, Megaton. They even brought back giant ant samples. A couple of dwellers stayed out in Megaton as contacts.
So Vault 101 knew the outside was survivable. For a while, at least.
Exactly. That knowledge existed. But that window closed. And that's when Alphonse Almodovar took over, sometime before 2258. Sources hint the previous overseer might have disappeared suspiciously. Almodovar was a fanatic for total isolation.
And he clamped down hard. Police state, cult of personality around him, swearing everyone who knew about the outside trips to secrecy. This is the pressure cooker the lone wanderer grows up in.
Which makes it absolutely baffling and hypocritical that he lets James and the infant lone wanderer in, a known surface dweller, violating the #1 rule.
Just to get a Vault doctor.
Right. He makes James swear secrecy, raises the kid as a native, but that decision,
That exception.
it's what ultimately blows the whole experiment apart.
And you gotta wonder about James. Brilliant scientist, dedicated to Project Purity. Why suddenly agreed to lock himself away under this paranoid overseer?
That's maybe the first hint that the perfect dad image isn't quite right. Yeah, his wife Catherine died, he needed to protect the baby. But accepting those terms, maybe Almodovar needed James's skills badly. Or maybe James was running from something more complicated than just grief out there on the surface. Messy relationships, maybe.
Escaping surface drama only to bring chaos into this hermetically sealed bubble. And we know how that ends. August 17th, 2277. James leaves. Cracks the door open.
Rad roach infestation, panic, and Almodovar just loses it. Total lockdown. Orders the guards to shoot anyone out of place. Especially you, the Wanderer, seen as the source of the problem.
And people die. Immediately. Agnes Taylor, a heart attack from the stress. Floyd Lewis, Vicky Hannon, Paul Hannon Jr. killed by rad roaches.
And Jonas, James's assistant, tortured to death by security chief Stevie Mack under the overseer's orders. Just trying to get info on James. Brutal.
That whole escape sequence, the tutorial, it's so effective. Because the danger isn't the wasteland yet. It's your supposedly safe home turning lethal. You might kill guards, maybe Mac himself, before you even see daylight.
The vault proved its own point in the worst way. Isolation breeds fear. Fear breeds paranoia. Paranoia breeds violence. Right there in the first 15 minutes.
But escaping is just the start, right? The real fallout from James leaving comes later, when you go back. Trouble on the home front. That quest, triggered by Amata's distress call just 2 weeks later, that's the final act of Vault 101's collapse.
Yeah, you return to find the place totally fractured. Two main sides. Amata, leading the younger generation, basically. She's seen the truth now, wants to open the vault, trade, connect with the outside for long-term survival. She's being pragmatic.
And opposing her, Overseer Almodovar. He's gone full dictator, paranoid, dug in, backed by security. And his isolationism actually got reinforced.
Huh.
The Enclave contacted him on an old government channel, offered him amnesty, reintegration.
Wow.
Ignored it. Took it as absolute proof that the outside is full of scary, powerful groups wanting to exploit them. For him, the Enclave just proved his lifelong paranoia right. He'd rather the vault die sealed than risk opening the door.
So that conflict, that's the real final test for Vault 101's experiment, isn't it? What happens when the isolationist bubble finally truly pops? When the outside world, represented by you, forces a confrontation?
Exactly. And this leads us to how people generally feel about the residents of Vault 101. Looking at the sources, the community reactions, the dialogue, the consensus is pretty harsh, people would call them. Quoting here, sputtering dickbags, inbred hole dwellers, generally just assholes.
Okay, wow, that's blunt.
It is. And I mean, maybe a little unfair. They were conditioned, right? Victims of this experiment.
I get it.
Because you can go back, you can save them, maybe even get a peaceful outcome where Amata takes over and opens the vault.
And she still kicks you out.
Right, she still banishes you. It's infuriating.
It is frustrating. And yeah, the game's trying to echo the ending of the first Fallout, where the Vault Killer gets exiled from Vault 13. But a lot of people feel Amata's reasons, the way it's handled, it doesn't quite land, feels illogical, maybe forced.
But let's try to unpack the logic, twisted as it might be. Why banish the person who just saved the day? It's not just spite, is it?
Probably not just spite. It's about tribal thinking, stability. You are James's kid, the outsider. Your mere presence caused this whole mess from their perspective. You cracked the door, you brought the wasteland in.
You represent change, the unknown.
Exactly, and change is terrifying to a society built on stagnation. Even if Amata wants to open up, she needs control, needs things to settle down, and you're this walking symbol of chaos, of the Overseer's lies, of security's failure, of the scary outside world existing. Keeping you around makes it impossible for her to establish her own authority.
So it's like, thanks for saving us now, get the hell out before you cause more trouble.
Pretty much. Pure insular logic. They were used to petty squabbles, gossip. You brought raid roaches and the Enclave to their doorstep. They just recoil and blame the messenger.
Man. Okay, but amid all this ingratitude, there's one bright spot, one group that, ironically, kind of makes it.
We gotta shout it out. Tunnel snakes rule.
Butch Deloria, your childhood bully, the greaser obsessed with his jacket and terrorizing you over snacks.
And guess what? Butch, the ultimate rebel inside that stifling vault, he actually adapts pretty well to the outside.
Right. If your karma's neutral, you can even recruit him as a companion. Or you just find him hanging out in Riven City, doing okay for himself. Better than most of the responsible adults left behind.
That rebellious streak, probably born from sheer boredom in 101, turned out to be a survival trait. Who knew?
The ultimate irony. Okay, so let's wrap up Vault 101. The different ways trouble on the home front can end, because the consequences are huge.
Yeah. The best outcome, the peaceful one, is convincing Almodovar to step down, let Amata take over, and open the vault. They start trading, interacting. But yeah, even then, you're banished. Maybe you can visit later, it's kind of implied. And you do find some survivors out trading, like Susie Mack.
Then there's the isolationist ending. You side with Almodovar, help him crush the rebellion, seal the vault forever. Which is basically condemning them to a slow death from inbreeding, right?
Yeah, a dwindling gene pool. Almodovar even admits it's inevitable, but he prefers that slow fade to the risk of outside contact. Grim.
And then the messy action.
Violence. You can just kill the Overseer. Or, maybe even more chaotically, sabotage the water chip.
Just like in Fallout 1. Force everyone out.
Exactly. Trade their doomed, structured isolation for just total chaos on the surface. Violent freedom, maybe.
And the final kick in the teeth for that ending. You can find some of them later. Captured by the Enclave, including Amata.
Right. You can save her from execution, and even then, facing death in the wasteland she feared, she still often blames you for forcing her out there.
Wow. Talk about holding a grudge. A monument to ingratitude and the damage of lifelong isolation. #OuchRow.
So we've walked through Vault-Tech's gallery of nightmares in the capital wasteland, Vault 77's isolation, 92's mind control, 106's gas chamber, 108's cloning madness, 87, birthing the super mutants, and 112, bronze virtual torture hell Vault-Tech's legacy. It's just human cruelty, codified and encased in steel.
Yeah, the big takeaway has to be, these vaults were never about saving anyone. They were about data, exploiting people. Every dweller, every overseer, they were all just guinea pigs. Extendable variables and sick experiments.
Humanity as a spreadsheet to be manipulated until it broke.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, let's bring it back to the person at the center of the Fallout 3 story, for the player anyway. James, your dad. The perfect father, right? The guy who gave up his life's work, Project Purity, when his wife Catherine died, and ran to Vault 101 for safety.
We assume it was all selfless grief, protecting the baby.
But we talked about how weird his entry into 101 was, how hypocritical for Almodovar to let him in. It kind of hints James wasn't quite so simple, so flawless.
Right. Which leads us back to that provocative thought we touched on earlier, a theory based on some subtle hints in the lore.
The idea that Dr. Madison Lai might be the lone wanderer's biological mother, or at the very least had a very serious, maybe complicated relationship with James before Catherine, a relationship he was maybe running from.
Exactly. Think about it. Why is Dr. Lay always so cagey about discussing James? She was his lead scientist, his partner on Project Purity, but she avoids details. The theory goes, James fleeing to Vault 101 wasn't just about protecting the baby after Catherine died. It was also about escaping the messy emotional baggage he left behind on the surface. Baggage Dr. Lee was deeply entangled in.
So suddenly his decision to lock himself and his child away in that isolationist vault, it looks different. Not just grief, maybe running from commitment, accountability, a really awkward conversation with Dr. Lee.
It adds this whole layer of moral gray to the father figure you spend the game searching for. Maybe he wasn't just a noble scientist running from tragedy. Maybe he was also a complicated man running from his own mistakes.
Which makes you wonder about Vault 101. How much of raising you in total isolation was truly about protecting you, and how much was about James protecting himself from his past?
Yeah. Something for you to chew on next time you're wandering the Capital Wasteland.
Perfectly unsettling thought to end on. Thanks for digging deep with us into the Vault-Tech Hall of Horrors.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.